The Miami Hurricanes have an experienced football team, but that hasn't stopped some true freshmen from playing starring roles.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I am Alex Dono, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and writer for Canes County on Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On this episode, we will talk with our special guest today about how Miami matches up with Virginia Tech. We will talk about Cam Ward's scorching hot start and whether or not he can keep this pace up. I'm not saying the schedule gets a whole lot tougher, but you do enter ACC play. And, you know, in years past, Miami hasn't always looked like the same Miami against conference opponents. I think this team will be different, but I want to talk about true freshmen and even some redshirt freshmen standouts. And we bring in our very good friend. He's the publisher at canescounty.com on Rivals, Marcus Benjamin. So, Marcus, like, I'm sure you, of course, when they were in high school, you covered St. Thomas. So you covered O.J. Frederique, who's been a starter in Miami's defensive backfield, has really stepped up. And Jordan Lyle at running back, who so far has been Miami's leading rusher. He's got 233 yards compared to Damian Martinez's 190. He scored that 91-yard touchdown this past week against USF. Does the early success that the St. Thomas duo is having, does that surprise you whatsoever?
Well, with Jordan Lyle, not so much, because I expected this guy to kind of make an impact immediately, because I had always been singing his praises as one of the best, if not the best, running back in Florida for the last cycle. So when I saw that he flipped from Ohio State to Miami, I was definitely thrilled to see what he would do for the Miami Hurricanes. So I knew he was going to get opportunities, but was he going to get opportunities in the first game against Florida? That's not something I really predicted. And for him to, break off that amazing run in that last game, which happens to be the longest in Miami Hurricanes history, it's kind of hard to believe with the story, history of the Miami Hurricanes and all the great backs that have come through this program, that he would have that type of record. But yeah, I expected him to really be a featured back at some point in the season, that you would see him make some big plays, some explosive plays. I certainly was expecting that from Lyle. I think he's averaging about 8 yards a carry, which is insane for a running back. And I think he will continue to kind of show just how great he is, and not only this season, but for years to come. Now, O.J. Frederique, on the other hand, I was impressed with him throughout high school. I was really impressed with him when I saw him at a 7-on-7 tryout for South Florida Express. When I saw him then, I was like, wow, this guy has great balance. He gets his head around. He's got great length, and he can jam a receiver at the line. Him and Xavier Lucas, who, work very closely together, who's now at Wisconsin. I thought both of those guys were really dynamic. So I was excited to see, what they would do in their senior years. And when it comes to OJ, he was playing both sides at St. Thomas Aquinas. When you're playing both sides at a program that is arguably the best in Florida, maybe not arguably to some people, that's big. That's huge to kind of, have that type of role in your senior year of high school. So you already knew how athletic he was from that. But then in camp, you kind of seen that, okay, well, this guy's really mature. He's getting his head around. He's locking down receivers here just in his first year as a college football player. So I'm really, really impressed with OJ. I'm a bit surprised that he started or has started as many games as he has started over some, veterans on the team that have kind of been there for a while. So his success has really, I think, been one of the big stories of this Miami Hurricanes football season, especially among freshmen. And I think he's just going to be, a player that Miami will continue to rely on as the season goes on, especially if Damari Brown continues to miss time.
Right. Yeah. And, we go back to, all the practices we got to see from spring football into fall camp. And there are other true freshmen. And another one we've seen quite a bit of is Elijah Lofton, who's already gotten a chance to flash a little bit. But there are other guys who are capable of really stepping up. Who do you think might be some of the next freshman breakouts? And maybe they're not going to get as much playing time as they got in like the Ball State and FAMU games. But do you think there are any other freshmen on this team who might break out throughout the rest of the year?
Well, you named one of them, and Elijah Lofton. I think that guy is super dynamic. He's one of the great chess pieces that Miami has. You can move that guy around to several different spots. Of course, he can play the tight end position, which is his natural position. He can play running back. He could play wildcat if you wanted him to, and he can play fullback, H-back. He can line out in the slot if you wanted him to as well. So I expect him to continue to get snaps, to continue to make plays as we've seen so far in this 2024 season. He's just a really dynamic player, and that's what he did at Bishop Gorman as well, playing a variety of different positions. So I expect him to definitely continue to shine here in this 2024 season. Another freshman I think is going to continue to make plays is Justin Scott. I think there's just so many players on this defensive line. It's hard to not have a Justin Scott get snaps because, you kind of want him to get reps, and they're rotating a bunch of guys on that defensive line. This is a defensive line that can go 8, 9, 10 deep, Dono. So why not get the 5-star from Chicago some reps? And as we saw so far this season, that he was able to get a sack already, had his first career sack a couple of games ago. And I expect him to continue to get reps because, and it's crazy for me to say this, but I see some more blowouts in the future for this team. And when you do have blowouts, you get freshmen in the game, especially late. So I think he will continue to make those type of plays late in games. So watch out for Justin Scott, the 5-star, to continue to get snaps for the Canes.
Well, and speaking of potential blowouts, this is something we're going to talk about a little bit later when we preview Virginia Tech, because Miami are big favorites in this game. Like I knew the Hurricanes would be favored, but 18.5, that's a really, really big number. So we are going to get into that. And when we come back here, is we have the pleasure of being joined by Marcus Benjamin. You guys can already tell is just a wealth of Miami Hurricanes and football knowledge. I want to talk about Cam Ward's hot start. And of course, Marcus covers Ward very closely. So have the expectations actually, or has reality actually exceeded the expectations so far with Cam Ward? So my friends, we're only getting started on this episode of Locked On Canes. You want to keep it locked. Guys, it is time to highlight my Roy Player of the Week. I'm so excited that we're doing this. You've heard us talk about Roy. Roy is a new platform that lets fans make contributions directly to their favorite athletes. Download Roy for iOS or Android and enter referral code Locked On, and you'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. And this week, we've selected Cam Ward as our Roy Player of the Week. Guys, 404 passing yards, 3 touchdowns this past weekend. Ward is number 1 in touchdown passes on the season with 14. He's number 2 in passing yardage at just under 1,500. And he's the Heisman Trophy front runner. So yeah, Cam Ward is our Roy Player of the Week. In fact, we're giving Cam Ward $100 on Roy. If you were impressed as we were by Cam Ward this past Saturday, you can show Ward some love too. Just hop on Roy and throw in a few bucks. If everyone pitches in just $10, it adds up super fast for Cam Ward and for other Miami Hurricanes we'll highlight throughout the year. Now you have a chance to show your appreciation for Ward's standout performance this week, as well as what he's going to continue to bring to our Miami Hurricanes. Get off the sidelines and into the NIL game with Roy. My friends, we are also proudly brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. By the way, for your next listen, make sure you check out Kenton Gibbs and I on Locked On ACC. We take you around the conference, all the big games, big winners, big losers, conference realignment and lawsuits, all that stuff. Locked On ACC, available free wherever you get your podcasts and free on YouTube. Here on Locked On Canes, we're joined by Marcus Benjamin, who is the publisher at canescounty.com. And I'm happy to be doing some work now with Marcus. It's an awesome site and an awesome community. And Marcus, something that's made our jobs a lot more fun so far this season has been the emergence of Cam Ward as a Miami Hurricane. And I mentioned there, Cam is our Roy highlight athlete of the week with what he's been putting on the field so far. And, so Marcus, it's one thing, like there was a lot of hype for Ward when he transferred over from Washington State. And, people had access to the film and the YouTube sizzle reels and stuff. But in terms of covering Cam in person, up close and personal, have you learned anything about Ward so far this season? I'm sure you have. What have you learned about Ward? I'll phrase it that way, that you weren't aware of before he arrived.
Well, there's so much, really, to be honest. I mean, because to be honest, I wasn't watching Pac-12 after dark, watching Washington State games the past couple of years. Although I wish I was, because man, this kid is just exciting to watch. If you're a lover of football, then you will love what you see from Cam Ward. If you haven't so far, if you haven't, I don't know where you've been living, to be honest, because the first thing that really kind of comes out to me is his poise, man. This guy has tremendous poise in the pocket. It's almost like he doesn't realize that, 5 near 300 pounders are trying to destroy him. It's like that is not even in his mind. That's what it seems. Obviously, it's not true, but obviously that's what it seems. He's just so comfortable in the pocket, so comfortable, really kind of feeling pressure and rolling out to letting his playmakers get open, and just the way he extends plays and his ability to throw on the run has been impressive as well. The way that he just is able to hit receivers while on the run has been quite impressive. And he's a sidearm thrower. I mean, this guy could probably be a sidearm pitcher in the majors, the way that he just kind of sidearms the football. I think he is just really skilled when it comes to throwing around defensive linemen as well. Batted balls is something that you don't see from him. He has yet to give up a fumble this season. He has one real interception, I would say, this season, and he's only taken 2 sacks so far this season, which is a tremendous improvement from his previous seasons. The last 2 seasons, he's given up, anywhere from 40 to 30 sacks on the year in the last 2 years, and right now he's on pace to give up just maybe 6 sacks. For the season, and they're definitely on pace for under 10 sacks given for the season. So he doesn't have any negative plays. I mean, I think that's what you were disappointed about with last year's quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke. There was negative plays, and he was unable to kind of extend plays, and third down is just a fun down to watch. I think last year, Dono, I think we were kind of scared on third down watching this team. But this year, you're like, oh, okay, well, what's Cam Ward going to do? Or is he going to run for a first down? Is he going to throw for a first down? It's really just impressive to watch. I mean, this guy has the highest passer rating among players with at least 100 attempts. Only behind Jackson Dart is the only player with a higher passer rating with over 100 attempts. So this guy is been efficient as well. So he can make every throw. I mean, he also has this determination to be better. You know, you kind of see that. I mean, that he's got this will to improve every play, every throw in every game. He is looking to kind of improve himself, and I think that kind of resonates throughout the entire team. He's an excellent leader, and he's got that swagger too, Dono. I don't know if he had that before coming to Miami, or if Miami kind of gave him that swagger. Either way, because when you're pointing out where your team is going to run, I mean, that's swagger like on a whole new level. And then, of course, he's got his own little celebration going on. I mean, the swagger, the leadership, the determination to get better, and then his skill set is just unreal. I think he's going to be at least a top 10 NFL draft pick if he continues to perform in this manner. And Dono, bro, that this is going to be the first player to be drafted in the top 10 as a quarterback from Miami since who? Vinny Testaverde in 1987, man. So it's been a long time since Miami has had this type of caliber quarterback. So I'm excited to really kind of see what he does the rest of the season.
That is so well said. And something that you brought up that I haven't really brought up in terms of connecting the dots, because I have mentioned this week that their offense is number one in third down conversion. I hope they can keep that up, because I like the way, like you said, on third downs, I don't have to panic like I used to. I get, okay, what do we have up our sleeves now? And the way you said that about just knowing Ward and, of course, the receivers that are on the other end of it are going to be able to convert those third downs time after time. It's a really great feeling. And, in terms of the pace that Ward is on, I know some people will say, well, he's got some cupcakes in there on the schedule, but like he's been just as good against, the Floridas and the USFs as he was against the Ball States and the FAMUs, where he didn't even have to play more than like a little over past halftime in those games. But like, do you believe in, Miami doesn't have the toughest schedule in the country. Can Ward keep this sort of pace up, or could there be some drop off?
I think there is going to be some drop off because, the schedule does get a bit tougher as you go on. I think Cal is going to be a tough game on the road. I mean, long road trip. I mean, one of the longest in a long time for this Miami Hurricanes football team. So I do think that is a game to be concerned with. And you got a quarterback over there who's from Miami, who's is certainly looking to kind of prove, what he is as well in Fernando Mendoza. And also the Louisville game is going to be a tough one as well. The Cardinals are the highest ranked ACC team at this point. So I think that's going to be a tough road environment for the Canes to get a win out of. But other than that, I think Miami is really going to continue, and Ward is going to continue to, light up the stat sheet, because I think the rest of the opponents provide opportunities for this team and Ward to really, continue to show what they can do. I would imagine that they are going to be favored in every game for the rest of the season. So I do think there is going to be some drop off, but I don't think it's going to be that much. I really think this team is a machine. I really feel like Coach Shannon Dawson, the OC for Miami, is really kind of adjusting his game plan to what he sees on the field. And so is Cam Ward. So I don't think there's anything that you can kind of throw at this team that Miami can't really handle, because, they got so many playmakers. They're deep basically at every position. As long as that offensive line stays healthy, for the most part, I don't see a tremendous drop off in stats and of course wins for this team.
Well, I want to take a look at Virginia Tech, Miami's opponent this weekend when we come back. We got Marcus Benjamin with us, publisher at canescounty.com. You guys want to keep it locked? We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked on Canes. Guys, we've been having a great time winning money this football season. College football Saturdays and Fridays now this week, NFL Sundays. FanDuel has been the place to be. And hey, NFL fans, you can start your season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bets. And if you're looking at Miami against Virginia Tech this Friday, we'll talk about it more with Marcus Benjamin here in a second, but the Hurricanes are 18.5-point favorites. Now, earlier this week, that number was around 17.5. So it seems like a lot of the money is coming in on Miami. Virginia Tech's got to go on the road in a short-ish week for a Friday night. So hopefully we pack the rock, but 18.5-point favorites. You want to check that out at FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you for making this episode of Locked on Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Marcus Benjamin is with us. So, Marcus, on the one hand, like people are looking in conference game, night game, Miami 18.5-point favorites. Like a lot of people are looking at that number and reacting like, wow, that may be too big of a number. At the same time, Miami has covered the spread in every game they played so far. They have blown everyone out to this point. Virginia Tech, I believe, is more talented than what they've actually done on the field with their 2-2 record so far. Like, do you look at, is 18.5 too big of a number, too small of a number, just right?
I think it's too low, Dono, to be honest. I really do. I mean, I think this team, like you said, has covered the spread. That's something that I always watch. In previous years, Miami has struggled to kind of make the spread. And this year they've destroyed it for the most part in every game. And to be honest, when I look at this team is very similar to USF as far as like the talent level, I think. And even with their quarterback as well, Kyron Jones, it completes almost the exact completions percentage as Byron Brown did. And I think Byron Brown is probably a little bit more athletic than Kyron Jones. And you saw what Miami did to USF on the road. 50-15 was the score that I last checked, and they might be scoring another touchdown if if this game was still being played right now. So yeah, I think this game or the spread for this game is a little low. I do think Miami should win this game by 3 touchdowns. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. I mean, they're averaging 52 points a game, while Virginia Tech is averaging 30 points. So when you just look at that in the sheer numbers of everything, you feel like, okay, well, I think Miami is going to score at least 40 in this game, which they've done in every game this season. Like, why would you think that Miami wouldn't score 40 points at home, night game? That Hard Rock Stadium is going to be as full as it's ever been this season. So they're going to feel the energy from the crowd. I think there's no reason to believe that this team will not score 40 points. Now on the other side, you feel like I said, I think Byron Brown is a more skilled quarterback than Kyron Jones, and I think. I don't see them scoring more than 17 points in this game. I really don't. The one touchdown that USF scored, or one of the touchdowns that they scored, was on a trick play that Kyron Jones caught. So they had to go into their bag for that one touchdown there. So I don't know. And it was actually the one touchdown they did score because they
and that was on the short field too. I think that was after the interception that
it was after
really
the
been an interception.
Yeah. Exactly. So that score could have been worse. So I do think the spread is a little low here. That there's just no reason, there's no logical reason to believe that they would not beat this team by 3 touchdowns based on what I've seen. This is a team that, yeah, they struggled with Vanderbilt. They struggled with Rutgers as well, obviously losing to them, to both of those teams. So, I just don't see any way that this team doesn't score 40. I mean, at least 40, but it could go with the 50 as well, Dono. So if you're asking for betting advice from me, I'm laying the points. I am laying the points, and it's not surprising at all that the spread is going up, because I think there's a lot of people like myself that is like, okay, this is an opportunity here, because Miami has this determination to continue to get better week after week. And another thing to factor in here is that it is a short week, and Miami's at home, and Virginia Tech has one less day to prepare for Miami. And so I think, yeah, this is definitely a game where you feel extremely confident that Miami will continue to show what they've been showing this season in terms of points.
I like it. Something else I want to pick your brain on. I know a lot of Miami fans are like, if they can nitpick anything, the things that one of the things that they nitpick is like, how come the running game isn't more explosive early in games? But like teams have, I guess opposing teams have been more afraid of Miami's rushing attack than Cam Ward, which seems a little odd to me, because everyone's been loading the box to start games. So it's like a pick your poison situation.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech against the run, they're I think 101st in the country against the run, 28th against the pass, which is significantly better. But do you think they'll load up the box again? And why are teams doing that? Any insight you could share?
Yeah, I don't know. I would definitely take my chances with the running game rather than Cam Ward. I mean, Cam Ward is just going to pick you apart if you give him the opportunity to. I mean, they're playing one high safety. I mean, Ward is going to find those windows, especially if he can buy time. If he can buy time in the pocket, I mean, it's kind of a done deal, because Restrepo and Horton and George will find a way to get open. And if Ward cannot find them, then he's likely going to run for a first down as well. So yeah, I am obviously not a DC, so I can't figure out a way to kind of stop Cam Ward in this offense, because I think if you don't load the box, I think Miami will have an opportunity to really get the run game going. So I think that the logic was probably like, hey, if we can stop the run, then maybe we have a chance.
Right.
But if you can't stop the run, then you have no chance, right? Because they could just run it down your throats, and then that opens up the passing game even more for Cam Ward in this offense. So my logic is, if they are able to kind of shut down the run, then you can force them into a third down situation where you maybe get a tip pass or some kind of mistake of some sort in the passing game, because the passing game is obviously about, mostly about timing, precision, accuracy, and sometimes that's off on a couple of plays. So I feel like maybe they thinking, okay, well, we'll hope to stop Cam Ward on third down, which at this point makes entirely no sense at this point, because you just mentioned the third down efficiency. I mentioned just his ability to get out of the pocket and make first downs. I mean, this offense is absolutely humming, and it's hard to believe that that's going to stop anytime soon.
Well, this is really good stuff here from Marcus Benjamin. He's the publisher at CanesCounty.com on Rivals. And Marcus, people can try Canes County for free. Let them know how to do that.
Absolutely. You can use the promo code Miami30 for the first 30 days for free. Of course, we have information regarding recruiting, analysis regarding the football team as well. Basketball team just released their conference schedule, so we're about to get into that as well. But yeah, use the promo code Miami30 for the first 30 days for free.
I love it. Great stuff here. Marcus Benjamin. Follow him on X at Benjamin Rivals. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch again today. Make sure to smash that thumbs up, that like button if you're watching on YouTube. If you listen to the audio version, make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Odyssey app, wherever you get your pods. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.